What we are waiting and seeing is Tariff Day. He's described the Liberation Day, Tariff Day, where reciprocal tariffs go into effect as April 2nd. And as we know, since he really started his second term, he's been starting trade wars, pausing trade wars, threatening trade wars with allies and adversaries alike. What do people think about the tariffs now? And what do people think about even more tariffs come April 2nd?
Well, voters tend to support uh, the equivalent tariffs, right? Imposing equivalent tariffs on countries that impose tariffs on us for exactly the same thing. So, for example, if you import a European car, by and large, the tariffs are in the low single digits, 2 to 3%, right? And when an American car goes to Europe, the tariffs are in the double digits, 10% or more, right? Voters agree that there should be equivalency, right? And if there's tariffs on one side, then we should be imposing equivalent tariffs. And this is a question that we asked in February. However, because of the disruptiveness of the tariffs, um, they are in a wait and see posture on tariffs. So they're really 50-50 split on whether they think tariffs are going to lead to meaningful concessions for Trump and the administration and the US economy or not. And what's controversial about the tariffs is that, for example, when it comes to Canada, 54% of Americans don't think that the Canadians are taking advantage of America and the US economy. Even with Mexico, where feelings are a little bit stronger, only 53% say that Mexico is taking advantage and 47% do not. It's really when it comes to China and when it comes to unbalanced tariffs that voters agree, yes, we should be taking action. So I think that Trump still has an opportunity to play his hand, but he's running out of runway when it comes to the tariffs, and he has to show something for the tariffs. And the strategy of we beat our friends, not our enemies up, is not really quite translating as well for voters as he thinks that it is. Maybe it's the posturing of it all and the optics of it all. Maybe it's something else, but it's not really clicking politically for him. So right now on tariffs, 50-50 split. Voters don't agree we should take a baton to our friends. They really think we should be doing it with competitors like China.
And we really need to wait and see on how reciprocal tariff day plays out. So I'm excited for our conversation next month. But I've talked to a slew of economists about tariffs over the past couple of months, and every one of them has said to me, tariffs are not good for the economy. A tariff is a tax on the American consumer. I know that the economy continues to be a top issue facing voters. It's one of them in this poll. It's been that way since 2024, since the election, since the run up to that. How do voters think Trump is handling the economy in light of these tariffs?
Well, voters are also split on the economy, right? There was a bump after Trump was elected in terms of sentiment, especially affecting Republican voters and independent voters. And unfortunately, in today's America, the way that you perceive the state of things tends to be from a political lens, right? So Democrats went down in opinion, Republicans went up, and independents went up slightly. But the metric that we tend to track is, are you better off or are you worse off? And we've seen an increase in those who are saying that they are better off. Um, Nevertheless, inflation remains the canary in the coal mine. It remains an issue that Trump needs to resolve as he is recalibrating the economy and realigning the economy. Voters are open to resetting how the economy works and the politics that go into the structure of the economy. But if it doesn't yield dividends where it matters to them, which is on inflation, and actually inflation starts getting worse, then that's the moment when the Trump administration will be completely out of runway, right? Right now, they still have the ability to play their hand and recalibrate the economy. And so it's to be seen, right? And uh, in general, in economic theory, in trade theory, you want open borders as much as possible. That is not the reality in the world. and the American economy is the largest buyer of goods within the world. The Trump administration is not wrong about that as being a piece of leverage as it negotiates with other parties. But the essential question is, can it come fast enough, right? And are the concessions going to be meaningful enough for the Trump administration in one or two different fronts? Either getting from other governments, whether it's the Europeans, the Chinese, the Canadians, or the Mexicans, concession on secondary issues that matter to the United States. For example, the drug trade and fentanyl and cartels when it comes to Mexico, or other types of concessions when it comes to Canada, or can the tariffs raise enough for the US Treasury that it ends up feeding to Trump's economic policy, which is really, look, we are spending 7 trillion, we are earning 4 trillion. We got to cut 1 trillion in government spending. That's what Elon Musk and Doge are working on. We've got to raise 1 trillion, ideally through tariffs or through different other mechanisms. And then the last trillion is that where the administration has started to get creative. The golden visa, for example, being one of them, the $5 million golden visa, which if there are 200,000 people in the world, which there are, by the way, that are willing to buy the golden visa, that would be $1 trillion in net revenue for the government. So it's a complex picture because on one side, the public believes that that isn't sustainable. They want to balance the budget. They want to give Trump a chance to realize this economic policy, which I very simply frame for the viewer. But on the other side, inflation is still an issue, and Trump has to deliver within a certain time frame for them. Otherwise, they'll lose patience.